Good morning and good afternoon. Nice to see you all here. Last week we had a guest speaker, Patrick Carney, and he gave a wonderful talk. He spoke about cutting off the mind road. And I wanted to continue with that theme today. The phrase cutting off the mind road comes from a comment by Wu Men in the Mumongkan. It's a very famous commentary, and I'd like to read the whole of it today. And it's a comment on the first koan in the Gateless Barrier that many of us know. A monk asked Zhao Zhou, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? And Zhao Zhou replied, Mu, which translates as no. So this Mu is a great opportunity for us to practice in a non-conceptual way. There's only so much conceptualizing one can do with Mu. In the end, you have to let go of all of that. So Wu Men's comment has a lot in it. And I thought for today, rather than sort of going through all the different sentences in detail, instead I'd like it if you could kind of just let it flow through you. In a way, let the mind road be cut off as you listen to it. Just let the words flow through and hear the overall intention of Wu Men. And I think his overall intention is to inspire us to practice vigorously, to inspire us to wake up ourselves to the nature of reality, not to rely upon other people's words, but to experience directly for ourselves the nature of things. So that's his motivation in this commentary, is to inspire a kind of vigor, not to try and grasp for something outside to add to ourselves, but to cut off our conceptual thinking so that we are then free to actually see the magnificence of reality that's right in front of us. So it's not to gain anything additional, it's to see what's already there. So if there's parts of it that seem strange, just don't worry about it. Just let it all wash through you. See if you can just feel the overall intention of Wu Men's words. For the practice of Zen, it is imperative that you pass through the barrier set up by the ancestral teachers. The subtle realization it is of utmost importance that you cut off the mind road. If you do not pass the barrier of the ancestors, if you do not cut off the mind road, then you are a ghost clinging to bushes and grasses. What is the barrier of the ancestral teachers? It is just this one word, Mu, the one barrier of our faith. We call it the gateless barrier of the Zen tradition. When you pass through this barrier, you will not only interview Zhao Zhou intimately, you will walk hand in hand with all the ancestral teachers in the successive generations of our lineage. The hair of your eyebrows entangled with theirs, seeing with the same eyes, hearing with the same ears. Won't that be fulfilling? Is there anyone who would not want to pass this barrier? So then make your whole body a mass of doubt, and with your 360 bones and joints and your 84,000 hair follicles, concentrate on this one word, Mu. Day and night, keep digging into it. Don't consider it to be nothingness. Don't think of it in terms of has and has not. It is like swallowing a red-hot iron ball. You try to vomit it out, but you can't. Gradually, you purify yourself, eliminating mistaken knowledge and attitudes that you have held from the past. Inside and outside become one. You're like a mute person who has had a dream. You know it for yourself alone. Suddenly, Mu breaks open. The heavens are astonished. The earth is shaken. It is as though you have snatched the great sword of General Khan. When you meet the Buddha, you kill the Buddha. When you meet Bodhidharma, you kill Bodhidharma. At the very cliff edge of birth and death, you find the great freedom. In the 6 worlds and the 4 modes of birth, you enjoy a samadhi of frolic and play. How then should you work with it? Exhaust all your life energy on this one word, Mu. If you do not falter, then it's done. A single spark lights your Dharma candle. So for centuries, this commentary has inspired practitioners to practice vigorously. To practice vigorously, but also gently. Gently, kindly, vigorously. This commentary was very important to my early practice. I had it memorized in those days and I would recite it to myself. And if you have the inspiration to do that, I would encourage you to do that. Or take parts of it, like it's like a mute person who has had a dream. They know it for themselves alone. Sometimes there's certain lines that just can awaken a kind of creativity in our mind. So before we experience the world directly ourselves, before realization, you could say, we tend to be enamored by our thoughts about things. We tend to privilege our thinking about things over the things themselves. And the word things is just a word to use for all experiences, all phenomena, including the thoughts themselves. So before this direct seeing, we tend to think our thoughts are more interesting than what is going on in front of us. And it's easy to think of examples of maybe making breakfast, maybe putting rice in a bowl or peanut butter on a piece of toast. It's easy for our mind to not really think that that is terribly interesting. We're more likely to be doing that and thinking about something else. We might be thinking about something in relation to the breakfast, but it's not just seeing and hearing the sound of the knife going across the toast or the sound of the scooper lifting the rice into the bowl and the slight little sound it makes as it lands in the bowl. It's more likely, even if we are thinking about the breakfast, we're thinking about something in relation to the breakfast, like, I don't know, whatever things we think. I have to remember to go to the grocery store to get more rice. Should I have this peanut butter? It's got a lot of calories. Maybe I shouldn't. Or something. Any number of thoughts that we may be having. Am I having too much? Am I not having enough? Will this get me through till lunchtime? Any number of things. I wish I had something different, like I don't like this bread. I wish I had different bread. It's endless, the thoughts that we are likely to be having, rather than just experiencing the actual sensation, the touch, the smell, and the sound, and when we're eating, the taste of the breakfast. And sometimes we're so enamored by our thoughts that we actually fail completely to register what's right in front of us. And I think probably all of us have had the experience of being in a conversation with someone, and then something they say captures us in our mind, and off we go, and we can't hear what they're saying for about 3 or 4 sentences. And then we come back and we're sort of staring and going, oh my God, not quite sure what's being said. We try to catch up and try to get back into the flow of the conversation without anyone noticing. In fact, we missed quite a few sentences for a while there. Even though we were right in front of the person and possibly nodding even, as if we were understanding, in fact, our mind was focused on our thoughts. We probably all have had the experience also of driving in a car and being very preoccupied with some line of thinking so that we don't notice the landscape at all. We don't notice what we've just been driving through for the last number of minutes. So this pattern, this habit of preferencing our thinking over our experience, our direct experiences, are very common. It's nothing for us to be upset about, but Wu Men is recommending to us that we might really want to consider that there's a different way of engaging with the world. It's not as if we can stop the thinking altogether, because the mind thinks, that's its nature, just like our eyes see. But we can shift the emphasis so that the thinking becomes a little quieter, or it's a little more in the background. And instead, actually what our eyes can see and our ears can hear becomes more in the foreground. So we can, just by being aware of our own thinking, we can practice seeing if we can just intentionally encourage ourselves to make that shift. It's just a form of mental discipline. We'll talk about that a little more in a few minutes. There's another koan, case 6 in the Blue Cliff record, Yun Men's Every Day is a Good Day. Yun Men said, I don't ask about before the 15th day of the month. Tell me something about after the 15th day. And he himself answered, every day is a good day. So the 15th day of the month in the old ancient Chinese calendar is the day of the full moon. And the full moon is a symbol of the awakened mind. So Yun Men is asking, I don't ask about before the 15th. Tell me something about after the 15th. And I really like this image because we can get a little too hooked on words like enlightenment, awakening, realization, and think of them as a thing to be got, a thing to grab, to get hold of. Whereas after the 15th is a little softer. I like it. So I like this phrase, don't tell me something about before the 15th, say something about after the 15th. And he himself answered, every day is a good day. So we could ask ourselves, why would it be what makes every day a good day after the 15th? What is it about after realization that every day is a good day? What is it about seeing things directly, hearing things directly, without thinking being so dominant? What is it about that makes every day a good day? And really, we need to find the answer to that ourselves through direct experience. So the whole point of this talk, me giving this talk, is to encourage you to really keep on when you're doing Zazen. The mind goes and is thinking, bring it back to the breath. Mind goes off, bring it back to the breath. Mind starts thinking, come back to sounds. Or at the very least, the mind starts thinking, I'm aware that I am thinking. To practice that over and over and over, and to have great faith that that really is a worthwhile thing to do. It's just not a waste of time to do that. I was having a conversation with someone this morning, and they were kind of realizing, wow, the mind really is the driver of things. Like, yes, that's right. The mind really is the driver of things. What we think has profound impact on what we feel, what we say, what we do, for every being in the world. So to become very familiar with our mind, and to train our mind, is completely transforms the sort of person we are and how we function in the world. Well, it doesn't change the person who we are, as our personality remains the same, but the quality of how we engage with the world is profoundly changed when we really become intimate with our mind. So to make this transition from before the 15th to after the 15th, to make this transition from being enamored with our thoughts in preference to being enamored by reality, we do Zazen. That's how we begin to create conditions for this transition to occur. We can't make it happen, but we can create conditions so the accident of the 15th day will occur. We can create those conditions. For centuries, people have been creating those conditions with Zazen. So we just practice and have faith that practicing works. In your Zazen, as simple and as plain as it seems, you're sitting there, we're sitting there, we're being aware of our breathing. We start thinking, come back to the breathing. We start thinking, come back to the breathing. Just like that. No judgment, no moral judgment, I'm not doing very well. None of that, we don't need to do any of that. Just keep returning to the present moment. And that creates the conditions for the accident of waking up. And of course, once a waking up experience occurs, that's still just another fresh beginning. Now one has to put that to good use for the rest of one's life and deepen one's capacity to be present over and over. But it does make an extraordinary difference to experience reality directly than to try to convince yourself that the teachings are true because you keep reading about them and hearing about them, and then you're trying to convince yourself cognitively that this is so. But that's difficult. That's difficult. Much better just to keep coming back to the present, and let your own mind crack open. Let your own body crack open. And all the teachings will just fall in. So Dogen also described before and after the 15th day. Didn't use that phrase, but he described it, this is a way to describe it. To carry the self forward and illuminate myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and illuminate the self is enlightenment. So in the first, to carry the self forward and illuminate the myriad things is to take your mind and your ideas about the world and overlay them on the environment. That is a chair over there. I don't want to sit in that chair, let's just say. That's taking the mind forward to the myriad things and imposing your reality onto them. That is delusion. That the myriad things come forth and illuminate the self is enlightenment. And if you can kind of imagine that, there's no barrier between the things coming forth to you. The light is coming to you. The images are coming to you. They're coming straight with no barrier in between, no filters in between, no veils of opinion in between. Come forth and illuminate the self, and the self feels large. The universe comes towards us and fills us completely. We are the whole universe. We are the 10,000 things, the myriad dharmas. And of course, the reason for doing all of this is not just to experience the personal joy and freedom and peace through directly realizing and engaging with the world, but what it does is it frees us up to let go of our identification with ourselves so that we can be of benefit to others. So all of this is not just for the personal joy. The personal joy and the peace is a nice bonus. It's a nice bonus. But really it frees us up to not be preoccupied with our personal self, to soften our identification with ourselves, and then we can joyously go out and be of benefit to the world with no ego investment in that process. Just do it. We can't help but do it. So I think I'll stop there and see if there are any comments or questions. Please feel confident to speak. It benefits others if you share your thoughts.